And welcome into another edition of Tennessee Tuesday. I'm your host, John Blankenship. My co-host is Jason Boshers, and our special guest tonight is Mark Buchanan. We have got a great show planned for you tonight. It's good to be back after we took a week off. And Jason, we've been pretty consistent in not missing a show, but I had to be out for an event. We have the Strawberry Festival here in Humboldt, which has been going on since 1934. It brings in on like Thursday and Friday 70-some-odd thousand people to a city of about 7,500. Had some events I had to be involved in that I help co-sponsor and coordinate, and took a week off. You took a week off. It wasn't a lot on the show. So we're back with a busy show tonight. Lots of things to talk about, and we are glad you're here with us. Again, we want to give a shout out as we start this evening. And before we get into our disclaimer, thanks to our sponsors, Dr. Chris Cummings, as well as past Commander-in-Chief Larry McClooney and his books, Paradox by Freedom, the 31st Regiment Engraving, Southern Theme Materials and Items, the Museum at Market Hall, Beauregard's Taylor, and the Sam Davis Home and Museum. And we'll be telling you more about those tonight during our sponsored break. But we start out with our disclaimer this evening. Jason, tell us all about it.
Well, the views and opinions that are expressed on this show, they're not the opinions of the Sons of Confederate Veterans as General Executive Council, any brigade, any division, any camp, any subsidiary. They're strictly the views and opinions of the person that's speaking them.
Exactly right. And Jason, we are opinionated people, and you've got me, you, and Mark Buchanan tonight. I know he has got an opinion. He's always got an opinion, and he is our guest this evening. And here in just a moment, we'll be jumping in with Mark and finding out more about him and what he's been involved in with Heritage Defense, and also some projects they got working in down in Western Tennessee in the Shelby County area and down that way. We'll be talking with him tonight. Again, we thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. Again, share this video out. And guys, if you follow our Tennessee Division at Facebook page, it's our public page that we have for anyone to see. I made a statement recently. We've got some, Mark, and I know you know this because it's really affected down your way, some of this redistricting that's happening in Tennessee. And it's brought a lot of commotion, especially from folks in Shelby County. And I made a statement from the Tennessee Division to watch our monuments during this time of unrest again, as there's some people not happy. And that has been shared several thousand times now. It's got over 40,000 views. And I have to watch those comments because we get some nasty language from time to time. But again, that's taking off. So make sure you share these posts out, our Tennessee Tuesday Facebook page as well. It's a good way to get this out to the public and let folks know what we're doing in the Tennessee Division and in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. So let's welcome our guest in tonight, Mark Buchanan. Mark, good to have you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on here. It's great to see you guys again. That reunion was outstanding, wasn't it?
Man, we had a great time up in Morristown, a lot of fun. And to get to dedicate a Confederate monument, Mark, that's just not something we get to do all the time. And to see it at its location, just, man, a prime spot there just outside of Morristown and Russellville. A lot of traffic coming by there and a lot of positive comments.
Yeah. People were honking going by. It was a great experience. And the weather cooperated.
Yeah, beautiful weather. The weather, we had a little bit of rain when we got started before it all happened, and then it just was perfect for the rest of the reunion. Just a great time, great location. But we've got back to work since reunion. A lot of stuff going on, and tonight, Mark, we'll break this down in a few segments. You've got several things to talk about, and let's go ahead before we take our first break. I want to jump into what was happening down at Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis. There is a Confederate monument there in the cemetery, and you guys in the camps down there are working to do some work on that monument. It needs some repairs.
Yes. The monument in Confederate rest at Elmwood was dedicated back in the late 1800s, 1878, I believe it was. When it was finally dedicated, it had been placed before then. There's a postcard image of that monument when it was new, and there are huge magnolias behind it now. And the monument itself is in great shape. But the last row of blocks on that monument have deteriorated. And it is our goal to have those repaired. Now we have, through the generosity of the Tennessee Division and all the camps in that neighborhood here, and the UDC and the OCR, and I don't want to leave anybody out, and some private owners. We raised $3,500 to get the repair done. Of course, and there's some of the cleaning that we had done prior to the effort. And as you can see where that rake is leaning against that mop is leaning against the monument. You can actually see some of those blocks that are deteriorated. And we scrubbed all those large blocks there around the base and put D2 on there in preparation for the cleaning and the repair of this monument. But material costs have gone up, so I'm in the process of raising some more money. There you have our Jefferson Davis Award winner from the reunion. That was pretty funny. Doing some cleaning. Danny, lifelong friend of mine, Danny Langston, there, great guy. He's the lieutenant commander of the Memphis Brigade. You'll never find a stronger patriot, but his sense of timing is horrible. So when he was he was going to be awarded the Jefferson Davis Award, which is really significant. He had to go outside and count his money and whatever. So anyway, that was a pretty good line. We'll wait till he sits down, John. That was pretty good. But there he is doing some cleaning right there. He does a great job. He has done yeoman's work on the Pleasant Hill Monument that we're dedicating this weekend to 17 Missouri unknown Confederates that are buried in Lakeland, Brunswick, Tennessee. And there's the monument there. Ken Cressman was able to obtain that large red granite stone from a J. Long there in Brunswick. And in cooperation with the Missouri Division, we were able to get this engraved and placed just this week on that foundation there. Those unknown Confederates were actually in the hospital in Memphis when the Yankees came to town.
Sure.
And of course, they evacuated the wounded and the sick. And as they went east, they stopped at every station they could or any community and let some of the patients off so they could be tended by the local inhabitants. And at this particular Presbyterian church, they allowed soldiers to several hundred soldiers there to recruit from their injuries and their illness. And these 17 from Missouri did not survive. So they're buried there, and we're dedicating this weekend, May 16th, Brunswick, Tennessee, Pleasant Hill Cemetery at 10 a.m. And we're going to have a barbecue afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we do down at the South. And of course, the strap will be gone, and there's some decorative stuff we're going to do around it. It looks like a job site now, and believe me, that strap's going to be on. The boomer's going to be on. So,
well, Mark, it's a beautiful monument. Of course, that material it's made out of. That what kind of granite is it? Is it granite?
It's a red granite, and the that white you see there is not painted. He sandblasted a gentleman named Eric and his son Jordan blasted that with a sandblast, and it's engraved into that stone.
Oh wow!
A quarter of an inch, and the red, where you see the white, he was able to use a different pressure and a different size sand to get that white color.
Amazing.
And of course, the blue is painted, but it really, when we saw it, it was just fantastic when we saw it. And unfortunately, they came out, and we had thought that we'd all assumed that they were going to bring a base with it. Well, they did not. So the team down here had to pull together and build one. And I used some of my AutoCAD skills and drew something up and had them approve it. And it's built to last. There are 3 post holes in there, 3 feet into the ground with rebar. They're going to have a hard time getting that out.
So, Mark, is there anything there identifying those soldiers now? What's in the cemetery around that?
Right in front of that stone, I should have sent a picture. there is a large marker that an individual placed in the early 1900s, commemorating those 17 soldiers that are there. All they know is that they were in Price's unit.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 17 4x4 markers that are in there with a CSA in the top of them that designate where they are. And
so they are buried individually, or are they in a mass grave type?
Individually.
Okay.
And we went back about 4 years ago and landscaped it and put Crusher Run rock down to tend that area to keep it from eroding, because there's a slight slope to the south from that location. So we did some landscaping there to keep it preserved, straightened all the markers back up, replaced one, because there's at the south end of that area, the last stone was actually missing. Because it's right next to a little road that goes through there, Amy Ann's Way, there in the cemetery. And we were able to make another stone and place it there and have them all sitting upright. And there's a great service every year that we perform. The UDC's involved. We always have a good musket turnout. It's really great, presenting of the colors, some great speakers. We actually have 2 aldermen from Lake.
Wow, okay.
We've got the mayor's invited. He said he'll be there. He says 10 o'clock is kind of early for him. But we also have Terry Rowland. He's on the Republican Executive Committee in the state of Tennessee. He's going to be there. He's actually a member of the Forest Camp.
Okay, yeah.
I tried to get him in our camp, but he's hard.
But he went to 215, huh?
He's a hardhead. But anyway, he's going to be there. But I did want shameless plug here. Behind me, something was mentioned last time we were on. I talked about my heritage.
Yeah, you had mentioned the flag, but I don't think we didn't see it though, did we?
Yeah, my ancestor, Captain Edward East Buchanan, and his brother William, and his son William Jr. were all in the 1st 6th. It's a consolidated unit of the Tennessee Cavalry. They were called Barrows Light Guards. They were involved in the Holly Springs raid. They actually served as escort to Van Dorn. They were organized in May of '62. They were in January of '63. They still had 430 officers and men. They fought at Chickamauga. So they were there when my Whitworth ancestors were also fighting there at Chickamauga. They went on several raids with Middle Tennessee, active in the Atlanta campaign. It saw action in several engagements in North Alabama and Middle Tennessee, moved to South Carolina, and in '65 joined the Army of Tennessee again, fought at Averysboro and Bentonville. And they were there until their surrender on April 26th. So they were a very storied unit, and I'm so proud to have this in our family. It belonged to my cousin, David Barrett, who is also a member of our camp. Great guy. And he favors Edward East a lot. And he presented this flag to me at a Pleasant Hill ceremony.
Oh, wow.
And, I had several of the, here comes the shameless plug. Da, da, da.
Oh, look at there. Got another shirt.
Some cool shirts. This one's a XX, large, and it has a great rendition of the flag there, Barrows Light Guards.
Very nice.
You can't see it from here because of the resolution, but it said, you can see, if you're up close to it, you can see Barrows Light Guards across here, where my great-great-grandmother painted the flag.
That's very nice.
And the stars there are all hand-painted by her. And kind of a touching story. These shirts are available for $30 a piece plus shipping, and all the proceeds will go towards the repair and upkeep of Confederate rest. So if
Very nice.
anybody wants to reach me, 901-570-1413, Mark South 1861 at Yahoo, Mark South. And I will get that shirt to you, and the proceeds will go towards the restoration and maintenance of Confederate Rest.
Very nice, Mark. I like that. That's a very nice flag. A very neat thing to have. They're glad to be able to see it.
Yeah.
What's it made? What's it made out of?
It is a cotton. It's a very thin cotton linen, and the red is dyed. The blue is dyed. The stars themselves were hand painted by Lucinda East Buchanan. And the barrel light guards was also hand painted, and you would have to be close to it to see it. I'm going to hold this up here. Hopefully it'll show. You can see.
Yeah, you can plainly see it there.
The barrel light guards.
It's kind of like in a banner or some kind of.
Yes. And
very nice.
My cousin, bless his heart, he kept this in a linen sheet for 62 years. And I remember my grandfather carrying it around in August in preparation to go to the reunions.
Oh, neat.
He was in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. So he would take that every August, and he would be gone for about a month and present the flag at the reunions when he could make it. So,
well, Mark, that's interesting. I'd love to lay my eyes on it close one time. Use the flag you see behind me, which you saw it probably at the division reunion here in Humboldt. I think it's also dyed or painted in some way. So I bet they're very similar material.
Yes. I went ahead and spent what I needed to put that in a museum frame and glass, because it's my dear wife allows me to keep this in the living room as a centerpiece on our wall. And of course, you have to have that special glass to keep any lighting from fading fading the lettering. I didn't want to be that guy in the family that went, oh, it lasted for 170 years.
But
and you ruined it, Mark. Thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that guy.
Well, Mark, what I want to ask you, you mentioned your wife lets you put it in there. Are you allowed to have any other artifacts in the living room? Because my artifacts, if I could show you around, they're all over the house. Casey has one corner. I have the rest of the house. And she'll agree with that. Yes,
I have a heritage corner in our green room. And it's where you come off the side porch. Yeah, and there's my books and my loot, and then I got another room.
Us guys, we have multiple locations. We store them. If we're all the same, I know Jason's like this. You can see a little bit of his room behind him. He's a collector as well. I'm a collector of a little bit. People ask me, Mark, they say, what do you collect? Pretty much about anything. Whatever sounds good at the moment, I may collect that.
Yeah. I've got a buddy who collects guitars. So, of course, he says the money I've spent on guitars doesn't even approach what I haven't spent on guitars yet. So, these, I talk about this kind of stuff, and thank, kudos to the wife for allowing this in the living room. But she understands. She's a free stater. She was from California. She's born in California, moved to Long Beach, Mississippi, and then made it to Memphis, Tennessee, just in time to meet her husband.
Well, look at that. That was perfect. Man, she's really seen a change in the world from California to Mississippi to Memphis.
Oh, yeah. That was a culture shock. One of her first experiences she relayed to me was she got to school in Long Beach, Mississippi, and answered the teacher with a huh? And that did not go over well. It really, it's yes, ma'am.
That's right.
No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No. And that was a real culture shock for her, but it turned out well, especially for me.
It sounds like it has. Well, Mark Buchanan's our guest tonight. He is a Heritage Defense Chairman officially in the Tennessee Division. And Mark, we're going to take our first break here. We're going to come back and talk some Heritage Defense, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit more about Elmwood there and the restoration going on. And if folks want to assist on that, how they can help there as well. But we do need to go. Jason, you want to help me with some of these? We'll go through some of those that have joined us tonight. Usually we do these at the top of the hour, but we kind of jumped into the conversation tonight. I want to say hello to a few folks. And again, Johnny Jenkins joined us. He's become a faithful supporter here of Tennessee Tuesday from Springfield, Missouri, since we're talking about Missouri tonight. Good to see him on tonight. Randy Cochran there from Union City. We got to see him a couple of weeks back at their fundraising event. He's the camp commander there at the Otho French Straw Camp 176. So good to see Randy joining us tonight. Our friend Derek Glover is joining from Jamestown. He's always a faithful viewer, and there's nothing more Tuesday than Tennessee Tuesday. We didn't even have to pay him for that plug right there. That's mighty nice of him. Kim joining us from Florida. We always appreciate our Florida friends here with us on Tennessee Tuesday. And Jason, I'll let you say a shout out to some of these other folks as I'll throw them up for you there.
Oh, yes. So Ryan Rogers from down with the DeKalb Rifles, 1824. It's a great camp. Great to see you, Ryan. Thank you for joining us. And Al, oh man, good to see you again. Hate that we didn't get to visit with you last week, but thank you for joining us from the J.P. Cowan Camp 155 in Tullahoma. Daniel Santiago, good evening, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. Daniel's become very regular. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Of course, Ryan McDonald joining us there from Carthage. Good to see him on tonight. Also a regular joining us there. I see one that may be spam tonight, so we're going to jump by that one. Jim Collinsworth joining us tonight. He's just down the road. He's our Tennessee Division chaplain in our camp here in Humboldt. Also, Jeffrey Fugate joining us from Kentucky. I don't know Jeffrey, but glad to have him on with us tonight. Maybe a new viewer. So if he's a first-time commenter, we're glad to have you. Of course, Kyle Thompson checking in there. Howdy to our Kentucky neighbor just up the road, getting ready for our time up at Fort Donaldson, which is coming up on August the 1st. The Tennessee Division, the Kentucky Division, and others are partnering together to bring in an event there. I know he's been working hard on getting that all together. Also, Jason, Kevin Ennis joining us this evening. I hope he's doing well. Glad he is there tonight. Also, David Pope is jumping in. A beautiful evening in the Valley of East Tennessee. Always a pretty area up that way any time of the year, and I'm looking forward to being there for an event coming up there in Knoxville in Camp 87. That will be in June for the Confederate Decoration Day service that will take place downtown. Looking forward to speaking there with them in June. Got a hotel booked downtown Knoxville, so it'll be a fun weekend. Let's see, Derek Love, can you believe that monument cost $5,000 in 1878 to build? And look what that would cost today. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see, also joining us tonight, one of our sponsors this evening. Good evening to the folks at Museum at Market Hall there in Charleston, South Carolina. I hope they're doing well. Appreciate their sponsorship of SCV Chat and Tennessee Tuesday. And a couple of more here. We'll jump up. Toby Oakley joining us tonight. Hope he is doing well. One of our faithful that join us each week. And Michael Williams joining us from Camp 1535, defending Southern heritage. Exactly. That's what we do. And another comment, Jason, you may know him. He says you came there to visit.
Yes, I come up to the Camp Chase Memorial, and I tell you, that is a very humbling place to go. And if you ever want to, that's just one of those places I think that everybody needs to go. It is a very humbling place to know how those men suffered in those camps there.
Yeah.
And they did in the camps up there, the SCV camps, and the people up there do a very good job of taking care of Camp Chase. Yes.
Exactly.
And that's always a place.
You're right. A very beautiful place, a neat place to go to. Sean Hill joining us there in Lewisburg tonight. Also, David Daniels is on with us this evening. Several new folks tonight. David Morris joining us from Oklahoma. Good to have some more new folks on joining. Appreciate you sharing this video out. And Mr. Floyd Harvey joining us from the Keller Camp there in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Look forward to going back there again for another national reunion, hopefully in the future. That was a beautiful reunion, beautiful hotel, and just a great city.
Yeah, Floyd's a great guy. I'd like to hope you're coming to a reunion, Floyd. I can't wait to see you there in Lexington.
And finally, before we take our first break, James Patterson getting the last mention in this segment there from the Massey Camp. 152 in Fayetteville will be hosting the Tennessee Division reunion there in 2027. So looking forward to going to Fayetteville next year. Going to be a fun time. So, Jason, it's time to jump into our first break here, and we need to talk about our sponsors and to thank all of our Patreon members as well that join and make this possible. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, wouldn't be able to pay the bills, wouldn't be able to bring you Confederate-friendly programming here on YouTube and on Facebook. So thanks to those folks. And Jason, if you want to drop those up for us, we'll go through and you can tell a little bit about how you can become a Patreon member and support the channel here at Tennessee Tuesday and also SCV Chat.
Well, want to thank our Patreon members, all these people that you see scrolling along the bottom there. You can join and become a Patreon member and support SCV Chat, and you can do it at several different levels. The entry level is the $2.50 a month level, and they call that the Feed a Moose level, because it's all started when, okay, how do I, he always says he's a broke college student. Well, I think he just graduated college, so I don't know if he's going to be able to use that anymore. But you can use that. That's the entry level. The $10, you start to $10 a month, you start to get at the real chat head level. And then the $30 a month, you start getting into the merchandise. And this is where every so often you'll get something in the mail from them. And according to what Harrison, goes by Moose, and Connor say, this is merchandise they don't even get. And there's some pretty cool things that come from that level. And then the big one is the $80 a month level. And those are the show sponsor levels. And we'll start with Dr. Chris Cummins. And it is modern medicine with Southern hospitality. He's out of Oxford, Mississippi. And I know, John, you have worked with him.
Yeah, I have. He spent some time in Jackson here a few years ago and got to know him then, and a true Southern patriot and a great physician as well. And if you're experiencing knee pain, as we all get older, guys, that's something we're going to deal with. I'm 44 and dealing with it now, and you guys are a little older than me, so y'all can probably testify to it. Well, knee pain is there. Dr. Cummings can help you out and help get to the bottom of that. So if you want to make a little trip down to Oxford and visit with Dr. Cummings, we appreciate his sponsorship here of Tennessee Tuesday. And Jason, tell us about 31st Regiment Engraving.
Yes, sir. 31st Regiment Engraving, Southern themed items and custard laser engraving gifts. And I want to thank Todd out of California. He's one that does this. And if you watch the SCV Chat show, or you watch the Look Around Confederation, you will see Harrison Moose talk about his armband, and you can have that engraved with your ancestor on it. And and Harrison brags about that. And if you ever see him, come up to him at National Reunion, ask him to show it to you. Because Todd from 31st Regiment Engraving took care of that. And you can see the other Southern themed items that they produce. And
some very nice products.
In California for taking care of that. Yeah,
absolutely. 31stregengraving.com is their website. Of course, we all know this gentleman here, Larry McClooney. He's a past commander-in-chief of the SCV and also a great author and educator. Paradox of Freedom is his latest book, A History of Black Slaveholders in America. You can pick up a copy of that now by going to booksbylarry.com. It is available to you. He'll get that out, and you can get signed copies as well. And he has many other books as well, Jason. Great author and an educator and a good friend too. You'll enjoy hearing him speak. If you've never heard Larry speak, an excellent speaker as well. Pick up that new book, booksbylarry.com. And Jason, of course, Beauregard's Taylor. Tell us a little bit about them.
You can read it right there, though. Family, business, driven proudly, offering authentic War Between the States reproductions, T-shirts, reproduction flags, lapel pins, and more. Now, a lot of people have bought their clothing. They're starting to work away from the clothing pieces. You can contact them and see if they still have a few pieces available, and they do very good, and it's very authentic. Their uniforms very authentic. The flags they do are very authentic, but they're starting to concentrate more on the reproduction flags, lapel pins, those kind of things. And I want to thank Beauregard Taylor. Not one stitch back. And I think that is a great moniker to go by. Not one stitch back.
The website, Beauregard'sTaylor.shop. You can go and learn more. And of course, the museum at Market Hall, they've joined us tonight in the chat. Oh, yeah. Again, if the flag is out, they are open for business. A wonderful museum that's been there since 1899 in Charleston, South Carolina. Got to first see that a few years ago at the National Reunion when it was held in Charleston. Their official hours are Thursday through Sunday from 11 until 4. And Jason, again, a fine museum.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I've been there numerous times. I like Charleston. Charleston is a great harbor town to go to, and you really get a sense of history there. And anytime I go to Charleston, every time I go to Charleston, I always make a point to go to the museum at Market Hall. And every time I go in there, there's always something new. They have some fantastic items. And I'm going to encourage you, anytime that you go to Charleston, make a point to go see the museum at Market Hall, and you can't miss it. That big, beautiful building there on Market Street with the market going behind it and under, and you see that and you go, okay, if the flag is out, we are open. So if you're in Charleston, go see the museum at Market Hall. It is worth it every time, and it's always different.
Also, of course, the Sam Davis Home and Museum, one of our sponsors tonight. There's a new graphic we've got up for them. There's Sam Davis. You see there on the left in the image, and an image of the house, and also some in the inside and outside. Jason, I know you served on the board, and I believe still serve on the board of the Memorial Association at the Sam Davis Home. And tell us a little bit more about when you visit, what you'll expect to see.
Well, and I tell you, the Sam Davis Home is one of those very special places. When you go there and you pull up the long drive going to it, you get up there and you bear off, the road bears off to your left, and just as you turn off to the left, there's a big rock there. Rock is where he tied his horse the last night that he come and he visited with his parents that night. There's a witness tree that is there. Of course, the ground is an arborist. And you can go there and an arboretum, and you can tell that I've been working with an arborist. And you can go into an arboretum, go and see that. And there's some witness trees that were there. Mm-hmm. And the home that Sam really come to a young adulthood in that home. He moved there when he was about 5 years old. So he was very familiar with the home, visited there during the war. And of course, before he was captured, the night before he was captured, he was at the house. You can see go in the house. You can see his parents' bedroom. You can walk up to the window where he tapped on the window that night, that fateful night. And then they have a museum for you to go in. And of course, Sam is interred behind the house because remember the letter that he wrote home to his mother, mm-hmm. Father, do not forget me. And when Sam come back, he laid in state inside the house. And as you go in those front doors, the parlor there on the right was where Sam was laid out. And they said the stench was so bad they had to throw away the curtains, rugs, and everything else. And then Sam was buried across the creek and across Stewart's Creek in the cemetery over there. And then after the war, his mother, remembering that letter, do not forget me, she brought him home and interred him in the backyard. So you can go there and make sure you go to the museum. There's plenty to do there.
Absolutely. SamDavisHome.org if you'd like to learn more and plan your trip there to Smyrna to see the Sam Davis Home. Well, gentlemen, it's time to go ahead and take this break. We're going to come back here in a couple of minutes. We're going to be talking more with Mark Buchanan about heritage defense, how we can defend our heritage, and also how we can be on the offensive side and things we can do to protect our history, which is what we are about because it's our history to tell. And we know it to share it, and we'll be back talking more about that right after this. Stay with us.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Look away, look away, look away. I was born early on across the born. Look away, look away, look away. When I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. In Dixieland I'll make myself a little die in Dixie. Away, away down south Dixie. Away, away down south Dixie.
Let's see. How about now? Is that
All
better
righty.
now? We all muted for some reason. Not sure why that why happened, but welcome back into Tennessee Tuesday. Jason's checking why Mark is still muted. I can't seem to unmute him, and it won't let me do that. So I'm going to drop him out and drop him back in. And
He
see what
says that
happens
he
now.
has muted himself. There he is. Mark,
There
are you
you
back?
are. Welcome
Yes,
back.
ma'am.
All
Well,
right.
Mark, I was going to give you a nice intro and compliment you there on what a great musician you are and what a good job there the 50-second does.
Yeah,
That was in Union City. That segue didn't happen like we were planned on that. So again, fantastic job you guys do. And Mark, how often do y'all play out?
At least once a month, and then there's another group of musicians here locally that goes by the Dusty Bottom Boys because we're all old, and we play that period music at local schools and events here in the Shelby County area.
Now, Mark, you've also got another band that does a little bit more modern music too, don't you? Tell us about
a little bit more modern music. It's called, of course, it's called Southern Sky. Rick Joyner, who is a recent member, I'm recruiting everywhere. He's a new member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He's in our camp, and I also got his nephew. Yeah, and we play, gosh, everything from Charlie Daniels to Bob Seger. We even did some Pink Floyd.
Oh wow!
We did. We played Freebird on a dare on mandolin and acoustic guitar, and that was a $50 tip.
Oh, look at there!
So we play quite a bit in the Memphis area. It's a lot of fun, and there's not anything that we won't try, and the audience seems to love us. I don't know. There's no account for taste, but we played last Friday and Saturday night. We had a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Well, Mark, what all do you play? And obviously guitar and what?
Piano, mandolin, guitar, and slide guitar. I've dabbled with the dobro, but I've given my grandfather's dobro to my youngest son,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandfather's mandolin to my oldest son, and I
Okay.
still have my mandolin. So I'm kind of coaching them along to kind of
Pick it up and carry it on.
Yeah, and that's a segue into what we're going to be talking about, our heritage defense. I did notice here locally, the Honorable Justin Pearson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's actually was my representative until the redistricting.
Yeah.
He has a long history with the state legislature, and he hasn't been as cooperative as some people might hope.
Sure.
He is still going to run in District 9 against Cohen. He has already placed some ads out on Facebook, and he takes direct aim at the battle flag. And
kind of give us some background, Mark. Now, he's the one that was in the Tennessee State Capitol with the flag, correct, that was burned. Am I right on that?
That was Justin Jones.
That's Justin Jones. Okay.
Justin Pearson. Okay, let's take the newsreel way back. He was when we were trying to get the Tennessee Heritage Protection Act passed. He encountered some of the legislators as they were going on the elevator,
Mm-hmm.
and tossed coffee on the legislators as the doors were closing. So Pearson he's a real mess, as my mom would call her.
Yeah.
And he has been he calls himself an activist. He hasn't done anything for this district since he's been here. Yeah.
So we're seeing some changes there, Mark. Kind of give the brief folks, that especially Shelby County is really affected with this, of how it's being split up now.
It's amazing to me. I worked as a poll judge during the early voting coming into this election season, and as did my wife. In our area, Shelby County, only 11% of registered voters participated.
Mm.
So to me, I'm a lot like my dad. I'm a skeptic on many cases. If it meant that much to you to not lose your vote, why didn't you vote?
That's true. That's a valid point.
And I'm not talking Democrat or Republican.
No, and that's not just there, Mark. That's everywhere. That's something we experience here in Gibson County. Why do people not get out and vote?
People just refuse to do so, and I find that unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. And
then a long-standing representative here in Shelby County, who was he was my legislator for the longest time, Steve Cohen, has been the representative from that district, I think, from 2007.
Yeah. So
when the discussion comes up, which they're proud to bring up, mm-hmm. that they have lost, their demographic has lost their vote, they had every opportunity to vote for a black lady.
Yeah. And
refused to do it, and kept putting Steve Cohen in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
so, Mark, where does that put him now? Where does he live in Shelby County? Where is he at? Where's he at now in the redistricting?
He was Shelby County and the Environs in West Tennessee, but he is still part of the Memphis area and part of Shelby County in District 9. And then there's a District 5 and a District 8, and he is in District 9 still, and he's going to be running against Justin Pearson. Now, Cohen has brought a lot of money to this area for University of Memphis and the University of Tennessee and the schools here in the area, and research. Mm-hmm. So you can't discount that. But from a law a justice standpoint.
Sure.
You've seen. I don't have to tell you about how Memphis is. You've seen the news. Ironically, when he was running for office, and there was a gentleman named Willie Harrington.
Yeah.
Willie was mayor of Memphis for quite a few time. Both of those people came out in their ads, their political ads at the time, in favor of the Confederate parks, in favor of keeping the statues there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So when I see this activity in Nashville, and I see some of the newsreels here locally concerning what's been going on with the redistricting, it takes me back to 2015, 2017, that period of time when we were going to the city hall and we were going to the parks in defense of our heritage here locally. I mean, it was Memphis. My gosh, it was a manufacturing hub. It was the Confederate capital of the state of Tennessee for a period of time. The largest inland sea battle in America, in North America, occurred right off the bluff.
I mean, Memphis is a very important city, even time of the war, even to modern times. I mean, my grandparents lived there for a time in the 50s, and Memphis was a happening place.
Oh yeah, the medical, it has always been an incredible center for medical care.
And let's say this, Mark, not everything is bad about Memphis. There are good things happening, and there are good things to go to in Memphis. There's a lot of bad, but there's also positive things.
Yes, there's a mega flag there on 385.
That's what I was leading to. I was hoping you were going to say something about that.
Yeah, and it's absolutely beautiful. And kudos to the guys in the Memphis Brigade. We and the public in Shelby County. This is on Highway 385 in North Shelby County, and it's on the south side of 385 on a 4-acre plot owned by the Camp 2015, the Nathan Bedford Forest Camp. That's a 52-foot tall pole, and it has a 12 by 15 battle flag on it. And the camps here have stepped up. We have actually got, that's the newest flag there, and we've got 2 more new flags and then 3 repaired flags. So we've got all sorts of flags, and there's a team that goes out there and pulls it down when the winds are, we're expecting high winds or storms, and we'll bring that flag down. And let me tell you, when we take the flag down, we catch it from everybody. Where's the flag? Where is it? What happened? Did somebody take it? What's going on? So it's heartening to hear that, and it happens every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's positive stuff you're hearing, and it's making an impact. And the good thing is you got backup flags, so it's not going anywhere. There's going to be one up there.
Oh no, and those large flags, they're available if any of our camps want to use them on a display for recruiting and in any parades that they carry this flag in. So we've got plenty.
Well, Mark, let's something else. We talked a little political tonight, and I want to mention another gentleman that has said that he is possibly going to run for one of those districts. Brent Taylor. That's a name that we've been familiar with.
Yes, Brent Taylor has. Of course, this is no endorsement of Brent Taylor.
Yeah,
but he was instrumental in getting the general and his wife disinterred there in Memphis and moved to Elm Springs, to Columbia. He spoke with our camps about that as much as he could. Conservative person, does not tolerate breaking of the law, which is incredible.
He's pretty outspoken. He's pretty bold on statements. And
it upsets a lot of people. But especially when he calls out people who are in the justice field who are not doing what they could to help protect the people in the area and protect property. He'll call it like it is, and people don't like it. Truth hurts sometimes.
So, Mark, he's one of those that we're watching. Of course, we're really watching what's happening with this redistricting. It kind of goes back to, we started the conversation with a statement that I put out on behalf of the Tennessee division, letting folks know and our membership know, and beyond our membership, that the Tennessee SCV is watching what's happening. We say, well, why does this affect our heritage, Mark? And I'm going to let you comment to this. Why do we care what this redistricting does? Why does it affect our monuments, our history? Look at what happened. This would be the time. What happened in the Capitol, in one of the hallway areas, where Confederate flag was brought out on a paper and burned. So it's something we've got to watch. That's being brought in and used.
Yes, and like I had referred to before, there our adversaries are actually using our battle flag, our glorious battle flag, as a tool to try to get elected, and they're not showing us in a good light, and that's inflammatory.
And that's why we have to show the difference in that way they use it, that it's negative. We know there's a difference, but there's people that don't know that, Mark. And that's why we're in the business of education as well with Heritage Defense. It's offense as well in your role that you serve, to teach people the truth about the battle flag, that the Confederate Army was diverse. We know that to be a fact. We know here in West Tennessee, I think of soldiers down in Lauderdale County. We know a very famous one, a Black Confederate soldier, and how they were there. So that story has to be told. People have to be educated, because we've only heard what they've learned in the public school system, and which we know where that's gone.
If you were around and saw any of that activity back in 2015 to 2017, when the fire was red hot here in Memphis, trying to save our monuments, which thankfully, one of the first, before we go any further, if you're going to fight for heritage defense, if you want to protect the integrity, the dignity, and the honor of our Confederate ancestors, the first thing you must do is go to God. You need to take a knee and ask for his guidance, because I'm outspoken. Sometimes I'm a hothead and I say the wrong things and get fired up about my Confederate history. Thankfully, somebody early on in the Citizens to Save Our Parks effort to save those monuments, that we should have a prayer vigil. Of course, people are going, prayer vigil, that's pretty passive. Hold on. It's one of the most powerful swords anyone can wield in the preservation of Western civilization. Yeah. Exactly. Thankfully, we held a prayer vigil at the Scottish Rite right across from Forest Park. The news didn't show up. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't doing it for the news.
No.
If they showed up, great. If not, the reason you were doing it.
And we're weak. People are weak. We get fired up and want to fight these people and get their face. And we've done it. We've done it down at Confederate Park. It wasn't pretty. We were lawful, and we pointed the police in the right direction to help prevent that thing getting torn down. A good friend of mine pointed out that these people that were down there protesting, their intent was to take the Jefferson Davis statue down. They had large ropes, several backpacks with large ropes, and the police picked them, got them up, pulled them out of the crowd. Or that monument that stands there in Columbia today would not be there. So when I see this stuff going on in the state capitol, I see it brings all those things back to me. It was not pleasant, but it reminds me of the first thing we must do. We must pray. Then we must talk, train people, learn about your history, learn about our heritage. And we talk about heritage. What is heritage? What is heritage? Well, it's hard. There's a definition out there. culture that is passed down from preceding generations, a tradition. Well, of course, it was handed down by previous generations. Our ancestors lived that. Their children and their children lived that. They went through Reconstruction. And after they got out of Reconstruction, guess what? They had to fight a world war.
Mm-hmm.
Go through a depression, and then then end up in World War II.
Yeah.
These are things that built Western civilization. And of all the places in the United States that there is a group that wants to preserve that Western civilization, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good thing. It's the Sons of Confederate Veterans and the UDC and all those other guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But just kidding. Just kidding. But the Sons of Confederate Veterans is the oldest heritage preservation outfit organization.
Yeah.
Today. And we're maintaining those traditions that our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents all adhered to. What was it? Integrity,
Mm-hmm.
honesty, dignity, patriotism, faith. First thing I said, faith. Their faith in God. And
Yeah.
these are the cornerstones of our Western civilization. And when we adhere to those things and pass those on to our children and their children and their children and other people's kids, they're not off the hook. You know, we have to tell those kids too. Our friends and neighbors, get that word out there about what our history means.
Mark, let me jump in there. And I started watching a documentary last night. It's on YouTube. It's a PBS documentary, and I forget the name of it. It's just been released on their YouTube channel. It's really featuring Natchez, Mississippi, and it talks about the pilgrimage groups there and the ladies' pilgrimage group that hosts the tours. And a couple of the people they interview, and the half of it I watched so far, is how people are not interested in this history anymore. They're not. There's a new narrative that has to be pushed. And one guy says something to the effect, we've just got old and it doesn't matter to people anymore. We've got to work harder. It just encouraged me what we know. Was everything perfect in the South? No, everything wasn't perfect. There's bad on every side. But we can't let our traditions, we can't let our history, our heritage just be, as I believe that gentleman says, just washed away, forgotten about. We have to continue it on. We've got to do a better job and more than we're doing, because we've won battles, but the public schools are beating us out, teaching more and we're catching up. We've got to do more. We've got to use our finances, use our efforts to educate.
Case in point. And you pointed me in this direction when we first discussed talking about heritage defense.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things I did was take a look on the internet and ask artificial intelligence what it had to say.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there was a little bit about what we just discussed.
Yeah.
But then they finished it by dogging us.
And Mark, we know how that is. It's looking at what's on the internet, what it's being fed. And if all is out there is non-truth or partial truth, that's what it's getting. And then it builds and keeps telling more. That's why we've got to get our information out there. So it's getting some kind of right narrative.
Yep. And this is something I ran into. My dad was in the Navy. My
Mm-hmm.
mom was in the Navy. So the Confederate Navy is something that is really a point of interest to me. And I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Last Flag Down.
I've heard of it, but I have not read it.
It's a good read. It's not a tome, but there is a lot of great information in here that people wouldn't realize. Like when the Shenandoah reached Liverpool, they certainly, when the war ended in North America, if it really did,
Mm-hmm.
they were in the Eastern Pacific, the Shenandoah. And they traveled around South America, and there was no way they were going to turn themselves into the United States port. So they went back to where the vessel, the Shenandoah, was constructed in England. and they had lowered their flag. They held their ceremony. They lowered their flag before going into port, and the pilot, they always have a pilot that comes from the port to guide the ship in, because they know the way in. And the English officer refused to allow the Shenandoah in without colors. So they ran up the only colors they had, the Confederate colors.
Yeah.
So which gets the heartstrings. Okay, so they make it into port. They make it into Liverpool. If I may, they're in front of the English military there. They don't know if they're under arrest or not. The men did not know the consequences of their answers. They were being interrogated by the English. Painter had wanted it that way to announce that he was calling them for British subjects, looking for any British subject that might be serving on the Shenandoah. And even to give the word time to circulate, and it would be an open invitation for any Englishman to lie. Whittle's suspicion of Painter was mirrored by the crew. The huddled captains could only assume the worst. This was a cold-blooded inquisition, a ransacking of the helpless ranks for Southerners. What else could it be? The fire-breathing British newspapers, the well-known fulminations of Charles Adams, the incontrovertible truth that they had plundered American merchant ships in peacetime, they were going to hang. Certainly from their point of view, they would just as likely hang if they announced themselves Confederates as if they said they were Englishmen. They would be pirates. Whittle, the commander, looked to the ranks of the men. He spoke the gunner's name clearly. Guy. As soon as he heard his name, the gunner left ranks and walked uncertainly across the deck and stood in front of the captain, Painter, the English. The man Whittle had punished brutally, the man who had most probably fired the last shot of the war between the states, waited to learn his fate. This only goes on for a little while longer. If this doesn't get you, you're not human. What countryman are you? Painter said, the Englishman. And Guy may have hesitated, or he may not have, but in an accent without a hint of drawl, the gunner said clearly, I'm a Southerner. Painter looked at the gunner. This was no Dixie-born Johnny Reb. Painter glanced at the 100 or so men standing on the deck in the November air. Next, he said. The gunner made his way to the far rail, and Whittle called the next name, Harwood. The ship's boatswain came forward. He was as much an Englishman as Painter himself. What countryman are you? Said Painter. Asked of Harwood. I'm a Southerner. Or, I'm a Southerner. Painter's eyes narrowed. Next, here was a sailmaker, the man whose wife had met the ship with fresh food 3 days earlier, Alcott. He was a Liverpool native, crossed over to Painter and drew himself up. What countryman are you? I'm a Southerner. I'm a Virginian, sir. Commander Whittle listened with gathering amazement at the kind of euphoria and awesomeness whose motive higher than mere survival had taken collective hold of those men. A glimmer of belief, perhaps, that the distant God he prayed to through the whole voyage had indeed been attentive and was now inspiring these men to consecrate their lives when the answers in Painter's question may come back one by one. Southerner, 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 Southerner from the Godfrey Bostonians, Southerner from the Delphine men of Maine, Southerner from the Australian stowaways and the whaling men of the Edward Carey and Hector and Abigail, and all the great flaming roundup of the Bering Sea. Only a few men whose Polynesian features betrayed them muttered the truth of their nationalities. These soldiers, these sailors of fortune who had sailed uneasily together, were prepared to die together. Every man.
Yeah.
Southerner. Some of them knowing they would have gone to the gallows. They would be turned over to the United States as war criminals. But they did not deny it. How could we I've got it easy. I got AC. I can hang in my ancestors' battle flag, which would have gotten you jailed in Memphis back when they put up the Confederate rest. I can say that in my house. I've got two of them out in the yard, one in the yard on a pole, one in front of the house. How can we deny these men? How can we not email our legislature? How can we not call our legislature? How can, when we see something, not say something? Hey, Mark, 901-570-1413. Somebody is acting a fool out here by our Confederate stuff. Help. It happens. It happens. And the Tennessee division is the point of the spear on this. People, the rest of the country looks at us. They look at the UDC. I was kidding about the UDC earlier. They looked at the UDC in Tennessee as the true fighter. I mean, to a man and to a woman, it's amazing what the people in Tennessee do. When the Job house was under assault, we didn't find out till the last minute, but it saved the gravesite.
It saved the grave. The cemetery is there. And
it's amazing. A couple of years ago, when the Memphis contingent was wanting to rename, they were pushing hard to have the Nathan Bedford Forest State Park renamed. We pulled a real Barney Fife on them and nipped it in the bud. I mean, right away. So,
Mark, if it's not us, who's going to stand up for our ancestors? What will the South look like? You're talking about Southerners. What will a Southerner be 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now? What will this be forgotten about? Will it be washed away? Or what are we doing now to ensure that it survives in this history? I'm thankful, Mark. I'm 44 and grew up in a Southern family that we weren't ashamed. Did we fly a battle flag in the yard? No. But did I know about it? Did I have one? I was going through some things of Dad's the other day that we've still got in storage. And these are things probably from when I was maybe 10 or younger. And there's a Hank Williams Jr. flag or a battle flag with Hank Williams Jr. on it. That stuff was always in my life. It's always been talked about. Southern people, we can't let that be forgotten about. It's our job. As the slogan you see on the screen, it's our history to tell. We've got to do it. If not, it's going to be lost.
I had my two boys, we went through the Scouts years ago. They loved it. They enjoyed it. Of course, they're outdoor boys anyway, and they loved it. And of course, we'd go to Fort Pillow every year, do a cleanup, and keep that, do the thing, get the merit badges for whatever we could out there.
Yeah.
But you get 30 boys out there and they want to play capture the flag. Well, you're not going to get a Yankee side in Troop 312. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we had to be different divisions of the same outfit. Nobody wanted to be blue. And it was a lot of fun. Those kids were great. And they a lot of them are in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Both my boys are.
Yep.
And my cousin. And I'm working on the rest of the family, doing the best I can. We'll see. David Daniels and I are going to get them up, getting all of them up there in Murfreesboro, not Murfreesboro, in Cookeville. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention, does anybody get this? Did you get this in the mail? Did you get this?
Yeah.
That in the mail. If our listening audience, if you'll go to page 10 in the Confederate Veteran, the Chief of Heritage Operations, Paul Graham, has a great article in the latest edition of the Confederate Veteran concerning heritage protection, what we can do, what we're up against, and why. He is much more eloquent than I could ever be discussing this subject. So I encourage you to take a look at that, because he says the stakes are higher than we realize. Yeah. And that's where it comes down to, where these things that we associate with, and truthfully, associate with our Confederate veterans, our Confederate ancestors, the patriotism, faith, all those things that made them the greatest fighting force the world had ever seen. Those are the things that, to coin a phrase, make America great. And it's far more than stone and mortar and detour endurance or Orbis washing, cleaning this scrub. It's more than that. It's more than going to the meetings. It's more than listening to the great speakers. It's more than getting out in uniform and firing your weapon.
Yeah.
All good things. But there are basic tenets that the Sons of Confederate Veterans promote that preserve those things that make our civilization work. If we get away from those ideals, if we get away from those principles, we're a third world country. We're no better than anybody else, and we'll go down that path. You could actually see some of that stuff. There was a local politician. He came back here to the Memphis area and made a mockery of a church. And all you have to do is go on YouTube and look it up. And those are the things. Those are the things that allow Old Scratch to get into our business, as Dad would say. And once that door's open, it's hard to get him back out.
You're exactly right.
So,
Mark, good conversation tonight.
Yeah.
It's been a great show. We're already into the 8 o'clock hour. We've got to take a break. We need to come back and kind of wrap this up with some division news. If you want one of those shirts, Mark has got them.
That's right.
Mark, as we wrap up our portion with you tonight, mention again how they can reach out to you if they want to help with the monument there at Elmwood or any other projects down in the Memphis Brigade. How can they reach out to you and they can help out?
Okay. Email Mark South 1861 at yahoo.com. That's my email. And 901-570-1413. Call me if you see a heritage violation. And if you want one of these really great shirts,
you got them.
Let me know. And remember that the proceeds are going for the materials that we need, the increase in cost of the materials for the repair of the rest. And anything that's left over will go towards, I've created a nonprofit for the preservation of that monument. So the proceeds will stay there for any other work that we need to do that monument.
Well, great work as always, Mark. Thank you tonight. Appreciate it. And know the door is always open as things go on.
God bless the South. And God bless everybody in the SCV. Thank you for everything you're doing, y'all.
Absolutely. Well, Mark Buchanan has been our guest tonight, and we're going to go ahead and take one more break. Me and Jason will come back and we'll wrap up with some news and events that we know about. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Was your great-grandfather a traitor or a patriot? Today's politically correct are trying hard to take away the heritage of the brave Confederate soldiers who fought and died for their land. But one thing is certain, they can't change history. Those Confederate soldiers were fighting for the same reason soldiers fight today. They were fighting against homeland invasion. We believe that the desecration of the bravery, patriotism, and honor of those men should not be allowed. They were outmanned and outsupplied, but they were never outfought. They were proud men who believed in fighting to protect their dignity, their homes, and their families. If you're the male descendant of a Confederate soldier, we'd welcome you to join with us in the preservation of that heritage. We're the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Check us out on the internet at scv.org or call us at 800-MY-SOUTH. That's 800-697-6884. Sons of Confederate Veterans, dedicated to preserving the reputation of men like Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and your great-grandfather.
Samuel R. Watkins, 1839 to 1901. Sam Watkins of Murray County, Tennessee, is remembered as one of the most well-known Confederate soldiers through his service and his words. Enlisting as a private in Company H, 1st Tennessee Infantry, Watkins served throughout the war between the states, fighting in many of its hardest battles, including Shiloh, Chickamauga, and Franklin. Like so many soldiers, he endured the hardships of war, witnessing both the courage and the cost of conflict firsthand. After the war, Watkins returned home and later wrote his memoir, Company H, one of the most widely read personal accounts of a Confederate soldier. His writings provide a vivid and human perspective on the everyday experiences of those who served. Today, Sam Watkins is remembered not only for his military service, but for preserving the story of the common Confederate soldier for future generations. To learn more historical facts about Confederate veterans, visit TennesseeSCV.org. And welcome back into Tennessee Tuesday. It's Tuesday, May the 12th, Season 2, Episode number 17. John Blankenship and Jason Boshers with you this evening. Sam Watkins there, Jason. That's the namesake of your camp there in Murray County. And you're still muted. I see that you're muted, and I can't unmute you.
All right, how about that?
There you go. That works.
Yes.
So he is the namesake of Camp 29.
Yes, he is. And it's, we used to quote that book in our newsletter, and probably need to start getting back to that, because you're very correct. That is one of the most quoted firsthand accounts. Mm-hmm. And I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they were talking about, because it started out as a series of articles in the Columbia Daily Herald.
I didn't know that's how it started.
Yes, sir. That's how it started. And people approached him and said, hey, why don't you turn it into a book? And he just sat down and started writing. And, and how he presented it, he presented as just a common soldier and a common man. And he talked about writing with the kids around him, he was just a man that was stepped forward and did something very brave, did something that he had to do. He did so faithfully with it, and he performed his duty wonderfully. And then to write the book that has been quoted so much, and it's been reprinted numerous times, and he was in the process of making changes when it passed, and his copy that he was making changes in went missing for a number of years.
Okay.
It ended up being found, and he had a great granddaughter who republished that, Ruth Hill McAllister.
Okay.
And she
Wow.
published it with his changes, and it's he was just changing the title of this, and I guess and you probably look at something that you wrote, and then 2 years later you go, or
change it around.
You go, I should have done that different. It's yes, a sideshow to the big show. And he called the officers big bugs.
Yeah.
And he says in there, he says, I'm not going to write this from the perspective of a general or an officer. I'm going to be writing this from the perspective of a private soldier. And
Company H, it's a great book.
Great book. Yes, it is.
Jason, you mentioned this copy that he modified, that he was going to republish. Are any of his original manuscripts still in existence?
That I cannot answer for sure. I am not aware of them. I haven't heard anybody say. So I don't know how he wrote it, or if his original writings are still out there. That I don't know. I just know that he had his copy, because he had a copy of the book, and he was making, the title of a chapter. He would redo that. And but as far as the original handwritten manuscript, I haven't heard anybody say. So probably not.
Yeah. Well, if it's out there and you're watching tonight, that would be a great addition to the National Confederate Museum. Wouldn't that be neat to have that?
Yes, it was, and we already have a cabinet that's dedicated to Sam because of the book, and we actually have it with the different colors, and even Ruth Hill McAllister's version, we have that. And
now, Jason, he's buried there in
the
in
original
the area. Go ahead, you broke up some.
Yes, sir. He is buried in the Zion Presbyterian Church. And when it was printed, he paid for it. So there were only of the first edition of the first printing, there were only so many copies because he paid to print, and then he was selling them to do any other printing. So we actually have a first edition, first printing there at the museum. Yes.
Oh, very nice. Of course, buried there at the church. And I've got some ancestors, Jason, that are buried there as well. One of them's a Jones. They came to West. They were in Murray County first. Most of the family come to West Tennessee. One stayed there, and he's buried there. And some of the Frierson, which is another name you've probably seen in that cemetery also. So it's a small world how and they even kind of some of those families marry into each other. So can I claim I'm almost related to Sam Watkins? Maybe, but it's very, very distantly, but maybe. I'll claim him.
Yes, I'd be happy to claim him as well. His account is unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's 8:24. We've got a few things we need to talk about tonight before we wrap up. Thank you for staying with us. We have had a great audience this evening, Jason. Folks have been commenting, viewing, and sharing our videos tonight on the many different platforms. Again, I want to say a special shout out tonight to our sponsors, Dr. Chris Cummings, past Commander-in-Chief Larry McClooney, and booksbylarry.com, the 31st Regiment Engraving, as well as the museum at Market Hall, Beauregard's Taylor, and then, of course, the Sam Davis Home and Museum. Thanks to our sponsors, scvchat.com, or go to Patreon and search SCV Chat. You can become a sponsor as well and help support the programs. Well, Jason, since we've been on together last, you have had an event that has taken place that you were really spearheading and a part of at this location there, where that monument is at Elm Springs now and at the National Confederate Museum.
Yes, sir. That is a World War I monument that was put up by the Shelby County Medical Society, and it was dedicated July 4th of 1923, and it was put in Confederate Park in Memphis. And when all that started being taken down, that was on the trailer. Came to us, and it has been erected. It was dedicated May the 2nd of this year, so just a few days ago. And that flagpole was the flagpole that was in front of the house. As you know, we're turning Elm Springs into an 1840s home. So an aluminum flagpole doesn't look
it. No,
sir. And it was a 30-foot flagpole, and it was set in concrete, so we had to cut it. And we lost about 2 feet of it then, and now it is sitting in 3 feet of concrete, so it is a 25-foot pole.
So it's now at that. And of course, again, you've probably seen photographs if you weren't at the event. And here's one of H.K. Edgerton Bench that was also dedicated on that Saturday there, Jason.
Yes, sir. And I want to thank everybody who contributed to that to allow that bench to happen. That was something that Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy and a few of them spoke about, said, hey, why don't we do this for HK? And people offered up, and that was done. We now have 16 benches on site, and that one was recently brought in. That one's going to end up being on the walkway from the Lee statue all the way out to the Forest Equestrian Plaza. It's going to be moved out there, but we had to set it there while we're building the rest of that. And that bench was dedicated on May the 2nd as well during the pilgrimage and homecoming. Which, of course, HK, a true hero to the South, and wow, just a great guy. We definitely miss him, and what an honor to be able to dedicate that there at Elm Springs. Let's see, we've talked about that. That was a great event. Jason, let's look at a couple of other things here, and that's an old photograph. Let's go down. Well, we can talk about that. That's you and Linda there. This is at the Union City event, the fundraising event that we were at. But I wanted to pull up another picture. And, you know, sometimes these photographs are small, Jason, and they are hard to see. So here's the one I'm looking for. That's a big difference in you and Linda to that monument, the Confederate flag. But it shows where my eyesight is. Let's talk a little bit about this. This is, of course, an event that's coming up in Murfreesboro. This is Murfreesboro Confederate Circle.
The Confederate Circle at Evergreen Cemetery is part of a celebration coming up this Saturday, May the 16th, from 10 until 4. So I know James Patterson is looking for some help. If anyone's available to be there or wanted to show up on Saturday and participate, you can reach out to him. So I'm assuming he's needing some Confederate reenactors, and I believe that's what he's needing this Saturday. And of course, that's the final resting place of over 2,000 Confederate soldiers. So you can reach out to James Patterson on social media if you're interested in being there and helping with an event coming up this Saturday. So always a great thing when we get the opportunity to honor our soldiers and our ancestors. That's what we do. So this next one here we want to mention is Jordy Barnett and a young man here, Colt Gentry from Morristown East FFA. He's receiving his William Hicks Jackson SCV Ag Award that we present. That's the Bradford Rose Camp 1638 presenting that. And there's Jordy and Colt there receiving that award. You know, Jason, these are a very neat opportunity for the SCV to be able to reach out to our young folks in a different way. And a lot of times with the ag programs and what we do, they really connect well because our ancestors we're talking about, Jason, most of them were farmers.
Oh, yes.
A good portion of those, that's what they were, or they were connected with farming in some way. So it's really neat to honor William Hicks Jackson, of course, who was originally from Jackson, Tennessee. Don't know if you knew that, just down the road from me, and then ended up in, of course, Nashville. And then we know the history with the home up there. So they've got some connection here to West Tennessee. So neat that was able to be presented. And here's a photograph of just one of those tonight we'll share from a great event, the Battle of Paris commemoration that Camp 109 there, the SMG Harris Camp in Paris put on. They've done this for a few years now. And there's our first lieutenant commander, Rich Garcia, and then Jeffrey Forrest Brigade Commander Barry Sowell at the Tennessee Division recruitment booth, and a great job there. And shout out to Rich, who helps put all that together. It looks very nice to present our organization to potential members. And I know he's had several that are interested in possibly joining the organization, and he has contact info, and we'll be reaching back out to them. And that's key, Jason. In any organization, if you want members, you've got to reach out to them. You've got to communicate with them. And Rich does a fantastic job in recruitment to grow the organization. So appreciate what he's doing. And also mentioning Barry Sowell. Barry is the chairman of our Grave Guardian program in Tennessee, of that committee. And here's a little bit more about it. You can go to TennesseeSCV.org if you're in Tennessee and you're caring for maybe the grave of your ancestor, your Confederate ancestor, or maybe it's a general, maybe it's just a private in your local cemetery. You're caring for that grave and have for a few years. There's a program that basically we're recognizing these soldiers, making sure they're being cared for, but recognizing those individuals that are doing the work. And I know, Jason, none of us are asking to be recognized, but it's nice you have a pin that shows you are a grave guardian and caring for one. There's an application that you can fill out and join, and you receive that pin and also show that you're caring for a Confederate ancestor or a Confederate veteran. So a neat program, and Barry Sowell heads up that committee. TennesseeSCV.org, and scroll down on the main page. You'll find the details about how you can submit your application as well.
And I can say something about that. This program, as you know, is a national program, but it has been done in a lot of the divisions. And where I noticed you get that lapel pin after you've been doing it, and you wear that lapel pin. And let's say you go to a national reunion and you're wearing that lapel pin. Other grave guardians from other divisions will come up and they'll recognize you, and they'll talk about it because they want to talk about theirs, and they'll talk about the graves that they're taking care of. And so this is a way for people like me and people like so many of us that want to respect these graves, that like going into cemeteries and working on these grave sites, and with our CERT program, and you'd bring all of that together. And that's what I've noticed when you go to a national reunion and you're wearing that, somebody's going to come up and say, okay, who are you taking care of? And it's an encouragement to each other. And that is the reason. Nobody does it for the recognition. So many of us have done it for years before this was ever out there. But what it does is it brings more people together. You realize that there's a lot of people out there who like this. So.
Absolutely. And Jason, I was going to try as you were talking there. I thought I could put my hand on one of the pins here by me. I've got a set of them, but they're not here. It looks like a small Confederate grave. I think you helped design that pin.
Yes. And I took it from the National Guardian because I was a National Guardian. And I'm actually the grave guardian for Nathan Bedford Forrest and Simeon Cummins, who are there on the grave site, they're on the grounds of Elm Springs, and of course my ancestor. And so started doing that, and they said, well, why don't you have one at the division level? And that's just where you start to see all of that and people seeing each other. And yes, Kentucky's in the process of starting a guardian program at the end of the month at our state reunion. I'm going to encourage you to do it. Develop a nice little lapel pin for people to wear. And they don't do it for the recognition, but if you have that, you actually join a brotherhood that people really want to partake in that. And there's people that want to. I've gone in and cleaned cemeteries and just clean every stone in there. Just go around, spray them with D2 and clean them. Even people, that their tombstone's 10, 15 years old, and it's been under a tree and it's got that sap on it, and just clean it with the D2. So
I mean, it does the work. I mean, even if you're not doing the full, some of them are not as dirty and they don't necessarily need that full cleaning, and that's a good way. It does its job. There's some, we just did a workshop here in Humboldt, Jason, about 3 weeks ago. I guess it's been now, maybe not even that long. And those markers have already really lightened up. We're using the D2, and just in a few short weeks, you'll already start to see them lighten up. And one of them is a Confederate veteran who was here in town, where we had the Tennessee Division reunion. He actually lived in that house for about 10 years. He owned that property. And I think I told that story, and we'll save that story for another time, about a Methodist preacher that stayed there with him. And Bill McCall was his name, and he's buried here in town. So we've cleaned his grave. He has a Southern Cross that's cast iron Southern Cross. It's on his grave as well. And so pretty neat to honor them that way and maintaining their graves. I always say one of the worst things you can do is desecrate somebody's final resting place. And what a great work I believe we all do by caring for those final resting places. Well, we've had a lot of comments tonight. Thank you for all those that have jumped in and commented. Some new viewers tonight. Again, it's been a great show. And I was looking for that pin. I really wanted to show that tonight, but I have the next best thing. We saw the a little bit earlier, the what's the word I'm looking for here? Coin.
Challenge coin.
Challenge coin. There we go. It's getting late. My mind's slipping. This is the one here that's giving out the William Hicks Jackson Award there. It's got him on the front, and then, of course, the SCV logo there on the back. So that's given to students or those involved in ag. We actually gave one a few years ago to not an ag student, but a gentleman that was involved in a television show that has a large farm in this area. So it was a neat way to recognize him, and hopefully in time he'll join us as a member because he does have Confederate ancestors. So it's a neat way to reach out to folks.
And if you want to look for it very briefly, what I can do is I can talk about the other shows on the SCV Chat Network and talk about a couple of upcoming events we have.
Yeah, you do that. I'm going to put you full screen, and then I'll be back with that.
Okay, wonderful. We'll talk about some upcoming events. We have one that is next month. It's always the third Saturday in June. It's the Nathan Bedford Forrest Homecoming. It's at the Nathan Bedford Forrest Boyhood Home in Chapel Hill, Tennessee. And that's on Saturday, June 20th. Vendors are looking very well. We already have a lot of vendors that's set up. And I saw Sean Hill on here. And Sean was talking about and was looking at some of the speakers that we have. I know that we're going to have good representation there. So look forward to seeing y'all on the third Saturday in June, June 20th. And then, of course, we have the SCV National Reunion that is coming up July 15th through the 19th. And it's going to be held in Lexington, Kentucky. And you can go to the website 131 and SCV, and you will be able to get registered there. Now, I say that, and I see Jeff Fugate's already put that on there. And Jeff, if you want to pop that website up here, I'll see if I can find that on here as well. We can stocking up on that L8. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff, I like it. But if you want to pop that website up, and I want to mention it because if you're wanting some food, like what I mean is you want to go food for the banquet, food for, you want to go to the award ceremony, June 1st is the deadline. So you only have just a couple more weeks to get registered in, because they have to cut it off for the food allocations for the hotel. So if after June 1st, there's not going to be any guarantee of any meals. So go ahead and get your registration in before then. So if you're coming to the national reunion, if you're planning on it, you haven't registered, go ahead and get registered. Yep, 131scb.org. And go ahead and get registered, and you have to do so by June 1st, or there's no guarantee for any meals. And now we'll talk about some upcoming shows on the SCV Chat Network. We're going to start with the first day of the week, the Lord's Day, Sunday. And that is Michael C. Hardy with Hardy on History. That starts at 7:30 Central Time. That's a show. And it is a great show. And then on Monday night, we have the flagship show, which is SCV Chat. That is 7 p.m. Central Time. Then, of course, you have Tennessee Tuesday on Tuesday nights with John and myself. And then on Wednesday night, we have Look Around Florida with John McFall, the Florida man. And I saw him on here earlier.
Yeah, he was on, just a little bit ago.
Yes. Always happy to see you on here, Sean. And on Thursday night, we have, on the first Thursday night of the month, we have Commander's Comments. And on the other Thursday nights, you have Look Around the Confederation. And that's at 7 p.m. Central Time. So is Look Around Florida. That's 7 p.m. Central as well. And, of course, Friday night, we have David Pope with the Friends of Douglas Southall Freeman. That's at 7 p.m. Central Time. If David's still on, I know he said that he was working on a something about Monocacy, the Battle of Monocacy.
Yeah, I believe he was doing some research too.
Yes, sir. And he popped a question or two on there. But his show, he records one, and then that's a replay for the next week. Yeah. So make sure you check Friends of Douglas Southall Freeman with David Pope on Friday nights.
Well, Jason, a lot of stuff going on. I do want to mention, you mentioned Michael Hardy. Michael Hardy's mother passed away in the last few days. So we definitely want to remember the Hardy family. He asked especially to keep his dad in your prayers.
Yes.
So let's remember the Hardy family. And again, I know it's in Florida, I believe, what the service is going to be. So our thoughts and prayers are with them.
Yes, our thoughts and prayers with the Hardy family. And I think this was rather sudden, and that's very difficult. And you're in our prayers. Yeah. And Jeff, you get pop this up there. Merchandise is available on the website also. Yes.
David Pope joins in here. You were talking about David, and of course, he will be live Friday night.
Okay.
So good conversation there talking about the funeral of Stonewall Jackson.
And that's something that we didn't talk about, but Stonewall Jackson passed away May 10th.
Yeah, that was anniversary just in the last few days. Our division Facebook page, if you haven't seen, I've shared a graphic there commemorating that. Well, Jason, as we get ready to wrap up, our friend, past Commander-in-Chief Tom Strain, told me recently, he said, I'm not going to do his voice. Good God, guys, y'all talk all night long. Something like that. No, it's not this Tom, but we have talked almost an hour and 45 minutes tonight. But I will close with showing you the pin. And let's see if we can hold this up here and show you our Grave Guardian pin there. Let's try to get that a little closer there. You can see it looks like a Confederate gravestone. And you can get one of those if you join the Tennessee Guardian. It says Tennessee STV Grave Guardian CSA. One of those can be yours.
Yes, it can. And you earn it. You can't buy it.
No, you can't buy one of those. You have to earn it and prove you're doing the work and caring for those graves and when you submit your application.
Yes. Just like you being a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, you didn't earn that. That was a birthright. That was something that was earned by your ancestor. And
Exactly
because of his duty, through his bloodline, he's gifted you this. Yes. And he does say, Bruce Gibson has said that many times. I've been up there many times and spoke around Bruce Gibson, and great guy. All of them are, but he says, don't talk so long.
Tennessee boys are long-winded. I get told that. I know you get told that. Jason, I promise you tonight when we hang up this call, we're both going to rest tonight. We won't be on here. I've got one question, membership-wise, to ask you, and then we're going to the bed and relaxing tonight.
Yes.
Again, thank you for all those that have watched with us this evening. It has been a great show. We thank you for being with us. Thank you, Mark Buchanan, for being our guest to talk about heritage defense. We had some deep conversation there, but things that need to be discussed, and I know you, our membership and viewers, want to know about, and appreciate Mark taking time out to be on with us as well this evening. And, of course, we'll be back with you next Tuesday night. We'll be here at 7 o'clock. And let's see, is that what Tuesday is that, Jason? Are you with me, or you've got a camp meeting next Tuesday?
That's the third Tuesday. That's the third Tuesday. Third Tuesday, the 19th. Yes.
So you will not be with us next week, but you'll be back after that. So we'll have a good show planned for you next week. Know if you're interested in being a guest on Tennessee Tuesday, reach out to one of us. We'll be happy to schedule you and talk about maybe if you've got an event coming up, maybe you're an author with a book, or you have a subject of interest that you believe our viewers would like to hear about. We'd love to have you as a guest here on Tennessee Tuesday, so you can just reach out to us. Jason, any final words before we say good night and wrap this show up?
Appreciate everybody joining us. Y'all be careful out there, and God bless you.
Absolutely. Have yourself a great rest of this evening, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. God bless.